Shalum. Shalum and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. To individuals that are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah, to His word, Yahusha, as it is stated in John 6:44. My brothers and sisters, end times are here. We will grow to understand that Yahusha, the name Yahusha, represents the word of Yahuah, not a trinity, just the word of Yahuah, the way Yahuah chose to contact and communicate with us, through us, one towards another. And Yahuah sent His set-apart spirit in Yahusha's name, as written in John 14:26. And we will grow to understand what that means. Before I get into this segment, I want to say this, my brothers and sisters. The views expressed in these messages do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, and or shareholders or their sponsors. And as I said, these messages are to you who are drawn by the Almighty Creator to Yahusha, as it is written. This segment is called Firestorms and You. And I want you to understand, even though it's called Firestorms and You, I'm included in that you. I am included in that you. Believe it or not, end times are here and we all can agree on it. There's a lot of talk about what they're doing, what people doing, what the wicked are doing, what's happening in the world. There's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of truth. There's a lot of lies. What are we doing with our time, O Yashar'al, if that time is short? Are we forging relationships with one another? Are we beginning to talk about and actually start moving closer to one another? What do you think the characteristics of a final exodus resembles? Have you given thought? Are we close to that time? I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, extreme humbling times must occur in order to bring obedience to a stiff-necked people. And I call these extreme humbling times, as it relates to this segment, firestorms. Firestorms. Collectively and individually, we will face our own firestorm. We will face that storm, that consuming storm that will bring us to our knees, that will bring us into obedience. At the very least, put us on the track to what we should be doing. I present to you these definitions of a storm. A storm, in one case, is defined as a violent disturbance of the atmosphere where strong winds and usually rain, thunder, lightning, or snow. And two, a tumultuous reaction, an uproar, or controversy. My brothers and sisters, firestorms. Let me direct your attention to Deuteronomy 4:24. My brothers and sisters. Deuteronomy 4:24 reads, "For Yahuah, your Almighty One, is a consuming fire, a jealous awe." My brothers and sisters, we will understand how the power and might of Yahuah will be as a consuming fire in the days ahead. Whether it be the results of volcanoes and earthquakes, whether it be fire coming out of the sky, whether it be nuclear bombs erupting. Keep in mind, no bomb can ignite without fuel, without oxygen, without the things that will give it the fire and the flame. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, the fruit of wickedness will have its place. The fruit of the Almighty Father's consuming fire, as it relates to disciplining His children, will have its place. The fruit of the Almighty Father as a consuming fire will exact vengeance and wrath. Let me continue. by taking you to Deuteronomy 9:3. It reads, "And you shall know today that Yahuah, your Almighty One, is he who is passing over before you as a consuming fire. He does destroy them and subdue them before you. So you shall dispossess them and destroy them quickly, as Yahuah has said to you." The Almighty Father uses fire in more ways than we can imagine, literally and spiritually. It is time, O Yashar'al, for us to recognize these final days require actions from us. Let me also read Hebrews 12:28 and 29. Here we read, "Therefore, receiving an unshakable rain, let us hold the favor through which we serve the Almighty One, pleasingly with reverence and awe. For indeed, our Almighty One is a consuming fire." Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, it's time to ask ourselves, what or who does the Almighty Yahuah resemble as a consuming fire? What are the characteristics of the actions of a consuming fire that will bring us into unity, that will bring us to the point where we are contributors to fulfilling what is written during these end times? My brothers and sisters, we must begin to look at the things that we say we believe and understand the realities of what's unfolding. And to each of us, we will face that thing that will bring us to our knees, that will weaken us. We will face that experience that make us want to listen and obey the voice of the Almighty Father, whether he's speaking through a brother or sister or directly to us, through us, in us, one towards another. We will recognize that as a consuming fire, he will consume the errors, the mistakes, the wickedness will be consumed with the power and might of his set-apartness. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, silence will come among those who want to argue unfruitfully. Obstacles will be removed, O Yashar'al. Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, our actions are as though we're saying, "Make me." When people talk about the final exodus or doing what's right or coming together, believe it or not, there are many of us that are as silos or in our own little cliques, and we have in our mind, "Make me." Though we may not say that, our actions speak that. Know this, O Yashar'al, the power of the Almighty Father will do what is necessary to fulfill what he has promised to his children. And I say to you, as a consuming fire, we will face that firestorm. Bear with me a moment. Believe it or not, many of our actions speak with actions that can be understood as saying, "Make me." Know this, O Yashar'al, Abba Yahuah plans will make clear what freedom of choice represents versus his orders being obeyed. I present to you, O Yashar'al, that he, the Almighty Yahuah, will make things happen. There's a firestorm tailored just for you, for me. And as I say, O Yashar'al, I'm included in that you. A firestorm, that consuming fire, that experience that bring about correction, repentance, obedience, improved worship. My brothers and sisters, please note, though the title is Firestorms and You, as I stated, I'm included. You see, this flesh war against the spirit, There are times we are stubborn. There are times I ask myself, am I procrastinating with doing the tasks that are ordered of me? Please forgive me, my brothers and sisters. But I must press forward and press into the answers. Demonstrate a better me as Yahusha cleanse and refine me. And I think that happens with each of us. We will learn the power of getting under the blood of Yahuah, his word that is sent to us as Yahusha. The power of the blood of his word, the power of the blood of Yahusha, getting under the blood and rising up renewed by the strength and power and might of his spirit, his set-apart spirit. No Trinity, my brothers and sisters. Let us consider what happens in these words. It's easy to read and talk about them, but what do we think will occur, my brothers and sisters? And you might say I talk about it often. Warnings and instructions are sometimes repeated until no longer needed. And I am compelled to present these words to you once again. Revelation 3:19, as many as I love, I reprove and discipline, so be ardent and repent. Do you believe the discipline of the Almighty Father will be as a consuming fire, refining us? Hebrews 12:11 say, and indeed no discipline seemed pleasant at the time, but grievous, but afterward it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Yashar'al, hear these words and seek the tasks that are assigned to you by the Almighty Father. Let us also be mindful that judgment begins at the house of Yahuah first, and we are that house. 1 Peter 4:17 through 19, for it reads, because it is time for judgment to begin from the house of the Almighty One. Remember, he's a consuming fire. And if he is firstly from us, what is the end of those who do not obey the good news? What will be the end? What will be the result as we encounter the magnification of he who is a consuming fire, shaping and refining his children, preparing them for the final exodus, shaping and strengthening his children, preparing for those who will die for Yahusha's name as martyrs, and more. It says with this judgment, and if the righteous one is scarcely saved, where shall the wicked and the sinner appear? So then, those who suffer according to the desire of the Almighty One should commit their lives to a trustworthy Creator in doing good. My brothers and sisters, end times are here. What's unfolding before our very eyes is so real. We will grow to realize that each of us will be held accountable for our actions. It's time to ask ourselves, what is expected of the one in the mirror? What must I be doing to get things right? Why am I experiencing the things that I am experiencing? And how do I survive in the midst of he who is a consuming fire? These answers will come. As they flow, we will recognize them. We who will be among the 144,000 and great multitude mentioned in Revelation 7th chapter. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, I want you to come with me to Philippians chapter 2, verse 9 through 16. It reads, the Almighty One therefore has highly exalted him and given him the name which is above every name, that at the name of Yahusha every knee should bow, of those in heaven and of those on earth and those under the earth, and every tongue shall confess that Yahusha Messiah is Master, to the esteem of the Almighty One, the Father. So that, my beloved, as you always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much rather in my absence, work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling. Do you think in the presence of he who is a consuming fire as we draw closer to him, we will recognize it will bring about fear and trembling. But it's the fear that is spoken of in Proverbs, where it says the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge and wisdom and discipline. That's the fear and trembling. When he say, work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling, fearing and trembling before the Almighty Father Yahuah. And that fear will give us pause to not be so quick to step outside the boundaries of what is set apart, not be so quick to argue and debate, but be able to discern what the Almighty Father is saying. For he is indeed as a consuming fire working in us. Consider 13th verse, say, for it is the Almighty One who is working in you, both to desire and to work for his good pleasure. We must work out our own deliverance, and that includes working among one another. Remember, many members, but one body, one spirit, one Almighty One. Do all matters without grumbling and disputing, in order that you be blameless and faultless, children of the Almighty One, without blemish in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding on to the word of life. For a boast to me in the day of Messiah, that I have not run in vain and labored in vain. There's the literal that we see in these passages, but there's also the spiritual that speak beyond those who it was speaking to at that specific time. And we must remember that the Almighty Yahuah is a consuming fire. To work out our own salvation is going through the refining furnace of the Almighty Father's Spirit. My brothers, my sisters, it is my belief that the scriptures present many instances where an individual or a people have and will face firestorms, actions that demand obedience to Abba Yahuah. And sometimes we live beyond the firestorm. We survive by the deliverance of the word of Yahuah. And sometimes we find it can consume one to death. Let me continue. Yashar'al, let me ask you, did the people in the days of Noah and Lot face what could be a tumultuous reaction as a result of decisions made by the Almighty Yahuah? Could it be akin to firestorm, whether literal or spiritual? In Noah, he destroyed the planet. Though it's with water, it was he who is a consuming fire who did such. During Lot, with fire and brimstone coming down, it was he. It was at the hand, at the word of the Almighty Father. There are instances, O Yashar'al, where the Almighty Father got the attention of his children to preserve his way of life, to preserve the messages that needed to go forward and that are going forward. Let me say this, my brothers and sisters. I want to continue by presenting an Eliyahu event. Come with me to 1 Kings 18 through 32. 1 Kings 18, 25 through 32. It reads, and Eliyahu said to the prophets of Baal, choose one bull for yourselves and prepare it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your mighty one, but set no fire. So they took the bull, these are the prophets of Baal. They took the bull which was given them and prepared it and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, answer us. But there was no voice, no one answered, and they leaped about the slaughter place which they had made. What I'm reading is an excerpt of where there's a challenge between the prophets of Baal and Elijah, or Eliyahu. It goes on to say, and it came to be noon, then that Eliyahu taunted them and said, cry aloud, for he is a mighty one. He is a meditating, mighty one. He is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on his journey, or it could be that he is asleep and has to be awakened. This is Eliyahu taunting the prophets of Baal. And they cried aloud, they cut themselves according to their ruling with knives and spears until the blood gushed out on them. And it came to be when midday was past that they prophesied until the time of bringing the evening offering. But there was no voice, and no one answered, and no one paying attention. Then Eliyahu said to all the people, come closer to me. And all the people came closer to him. And he prepared the slaughter place of Yahuah that was broken down. You see, the prophets of Baal had broken Yahuah's slaughter place down. But Eliyahu repaired it. And he took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Yaakov, to whom the word of Yahuah had come, saying, Yashar'al is your name. And with the stones he built a slaughter place in the name of Yahuah, and he made a trench around the slaughter place, large enough to hold two shares of seed. Let me continue. And he arranged the wood and cut the bull in pieces and laid it on the wood and said, fill your jars with water and pour it on the ascending offering and on the wood. Then he said, do it a second time. They did it a second time. And he said, do it a third time. Now they pouring water on wood. Keep this in mind. And the water flowed around the slaughter place, and he filled the trench with water too. And it came to be at the time of bringing the evening offering that Eliyahu the prophet came near and said, Yahuah, Almighty One of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yashar'al, let it be known today you are the Almighty One in Yashar'al, and I, your servant, have done all these matters by your word. Answer me, O Yahuah, answer me, and let this people know that you are Yahuah the Almighty One, and you shall turn their hearts back to you again. Then the fire of Yahuah fell and consumed the ascending offering, and the wood and the stones and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. And all the people saw and fell on their face and said, Yahuah, he is the Almighty One. Yahuah, he is the Almighty One. It would be wise, O Yashar'al, to make sound decisions when choosing a side of whether you are with set apart ones or not, whether you are close to the set apart ones of Yahuah or not. My brothers and sisters, there are examples where Yahuah has demonstrated how he can and is and will be a consuming fire. Have you chosen the right side? Have you faced your firestorms to where it has brought you to correction? Do you think that's it? I submit to you there will be more. Talking about sides, talking about doing what people tell you to do. Consider this example. This involves Eliyahu, commonly known as Elijah. 2 Kings 1, 9 through 17. Let me read it. It says, he then sent to him a captain of 50 with his 50 men, and he went up to him, and see, he was sitting on the top of a hill, and he spoke to him, man of Almighty One, the sovereign have said, come down. So this is the captain and 50 men coming to get Elijah or Eliyahu. They just basically said, come down. They telling him to come down. Wasn't asking him. And Eliyahu said, the captain of the 50, if I am a man of the Almighty One, let fire come down from the heavens and consume you and your 50 men. And fire came down from the heavens and consumed him and his 50. So the king sent another captain of 50, with his 50 men to him. And he answered and said to him, Man of Almighty One, this is what the sovereign said. Come down at once. And Yahuah answered and said to them, If I am a man of the Almighty One, let fire come down from the heaven and consume you and your 50 men. And a fire of the Almighty One came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And again he sent a third captain of 50 with his 50 men. And the third captain of the 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Yahuah and pleaded with him and said to him, Man of the Almighty One, please let my life and the life of these 50 servants of yours be precious in your eyes. See, fire has come down from the heavens and burned up the first two captains of the 50s with their 50s. But let my life be precious in your eyes. You see, it's a matter of how you present yourself before he who is a consuming fire, or he who served him who is a consuming fire. And the messenger of Yahuah said to Yahuah, Go down with him. Do not be afraid of him. So he rose up, went down with him to the sovereign, and spoke to him. Thus said Yahuah, because you have sent messengers to inquire of Baal, Zebul, the mighty one of Ekron, is it because there is no Almighty One in Yashar'al to inquire of his word? Therefore you are not going to get out of the bed to which you have gone up, for you shall certainly die. And he died according to the word of Yahuah, which Yahuah has spoken. And Yashar'al reigned in his place in the second year of Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehudah, for he had no son. Consuming fire. Do we believe these things occurred? Do we truly believe the scriptures? I have spoken often how Yahuah doesn't change. I have brought out scripture where it says he changes not, in Malachi and in James. It's time to be mindful of the various methods that the Almighty Father Yahuah have used and will use to bring discipline and punishment. Famine is another method used to exact punishment. Famine, my brothers and sisters. And I say to you, we will see that the heat from he who is a consuming fire, magnifying the sun to bring drought bringing famine, a shortage of food, a means in which the Almighty Father will exact punishments. Consider this, Yashar'al. Jeremiah chapter 11, verse 20 through 23 says, Jeremiah 11, 20 through 23, But O Yahuah of hosts, who judges righteously, who tries kidneys and heart, let me see your vengeance upon them, for unto you I have revealed my cause. Therefore thus said Yahuah concerning the men of Anathoth, who are seeking your life, saying, Do not prophesy in the name of Yahuah, lest you die by our hand. They were threatening Jeremiah. Therefore thus said Yahuah of hosts, See, I am punishing them. The young men shall die by the sword. Their sons and their daughters shall die by scarcities of food. This is famine, my brothers and sisters. And there shall be no remnant of them, for I bring evil on the men of Anathoth, the year of their punishment. Scarcity of food. When there is drought, when there is no rain, it results in scarcity of food. Some of you might say, well, how does that come to consuming fire? Fire is related to heat. it's akin to heat. The heat of the sun is a result of the words and power and might of the Almighty Father, who is a consuming fire, who is the Father of lights. All too often we forget and we stop in our learning and teaching and forget to get back to He who is the beginning and the end. Famine and extreme hunger can lead people to sell themselves into slavery. You see, He who is a consuming fire can bring famine as a punishment to make us look to whom we should really look to be as slaves and worship and servants and children, who we really should look at. But we stop too short too often. A good example is in Genesis 47, verse 13 through 19. I will read this. For the times and conditions that we face now will cause some brothers and sisters to sell themselves into slavery. But make no mistake, those who are obedient to the voice of the Almighty Father, those who listen to the living word of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, in our weakness we will rise up strong. In the midst of famine, we will rise up strong, strong in the spirit of set-apartness. With that said, let me read 47, 13 through 19. Genesis 47, 13 through 19. Now there was no bread in all the land, because the scarcity of food was very severe. And the land of Mitzrayim and all the land of Canaan become exhausted from the scarcity of food. And Joseph gathered up all the silver that was found in the land of Mitzrayim and in the land of Canaan, for the grain which they bought. And Joseph brought the silver into Pharaoh's house. And when the silver was all spent, when they didn't have anything else to buy food with, when it was spent in the land of Mitzrayim, in the land of Canaan, all the Mitzrayites came to Joseph and said, "Give us bread. Why should we die in your presence? For the silver is gone." And Joseph said, "Give your livestock, and I give you bread for your livestock, if the silver is gone." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses and for the flocks they owned, and for the herds they owned, and for the donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. And when that year ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We do not hide from our master that our silver is all spent, and our master has the livestock we owned. There has not been left any before my master, but our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes, both we in our land? Buy us in our land for bread, and let us in our land be servants of Pharaoh, and give us seed, and let us live and not die, and let the land not lie waste." My brothers and sisters, set-apartness ruled and survived. These were Mitzrayites, and there were probably some wicked Hebrews who followed the ways of the heathen. But I submit to you, the children of Yahuah, recognize the need to draw closer to Him to survive the great famine that came, to follow the leadership of Joseph. Be advised, my brothers and sisters, in the midst of all the end-time uncertainty and confusion, it is a challenge to identify the spirit of Yahuah. Identify even those whom He leads, those whom He speaks. He speaks to each of us, one towards another, to those who yield to Him. Know this, it is possible to identify the set-apart ones who can discern what must be done. The time is now to choose. As firestorms come, as the storms come, my brothers and sisters, that time is now for us to choose. Who will we listen to? Whom will we follow? What actions will we take? Come as I pivot to something else that is important to recognize, my brothers and sisters. As the firestorms come to refine us, to shape us, I want you to consider these words as well. Acts 27, 9 through 12. It says, in time having passed, and the selling now being dangerous because the fast was already over, Shaul advised them. This is an excerpt where Shaul has given them advice, and he was a prisoner on the ship. And they didn't want to listen to him. But let me read an excerpt so we can see what actually occurred. Shaul advised them, saying, men, I see this voyage is going to end with damage and great loss, not only of the cargo and ship, but also our lives. But the captain was persuaded by the pilot and the owner of the ship, rather than Shaul, saying, and because the harbor was unsuitable to winter in, the greater part advised to set sail from there too, if somehow they were able to reach Phoenix, a harbor of Crete facing southwest and northwest, to pass the winter. Let me continue with this story regarding Shaul on the ship. And when they had been, I'm at 20 verse to the 26th verse. When they had been long absent from the food, they all had fasted and praying. Then Shaul, standing in the midst of them, said, truly, men, you should have listened to me and not have sailed from Crete and sustained this damage and loss. And now I urge you to take courage, for there shall be no loss of life among you, but only the ship. For tonight a messenger of the Almighty One, to whom I belong and whom I serve, stood by me, saying, do not be afraid, Shaul. You have to be brought before Caesar. And look, the Almighty One has favorably given you all those who sail with you. Therefore take courage, men, for I believe the Almighty One, that it shall be according to the way it was spoken to me. However, we need to run aground on some island. My brothers, I realize I presented parts of the story. I encourage you to read the whole story. My point in sharing that story is they would not listen to Shaul. They used their own leaders, their own wisdom. But when the storm came, when their lives were on the brink of death, then they listened. They listened to Shaul, and Shaul listened to the voice of the messenger who spoke to him regarding what will happen, what will come to be. We will soon witness firestorms that will cause us to seek to identify and listen to the individuals that the Almighty Father is speaking through. Individuals who we would have rejected. In some cases, they have faced rejections, trying to advise us to what the Almighty Father is saying. Pray and watch. Firestorms are tailored for each of us, individually and collectively. We will witness the power and the might of Yahuah. Bring discipline, bring refinement, bring unity for the final exodus that will consist of the 144,000 in great multitude. In other words, my brothers and sisters, let us prepare to incline our ears to what is ordered by Abba Yahuah as end times ramp up. Our actions may speak, maybe, but be advised, my brothers and sisters, our actions might say, make me. And we haven't given thought that in our stubbornness, in our stiff neck, that's as though we're saying, make me to the Almighty Father. And he who is a consuming fire, he who is the Almighty One will indeed Be advised, my brothers and sisters, storms are coming, and I have chosen to call them firestorms to reflect what we will discover with the origins or beginnings from He who is a consuming fire. We will soon recognize firestorms of different characteristics, literally and spiritually. It would be wise, my brothers and sisters, to know what to expect, when, know how to respond with accuracy as we face the things that make us. You see, His promises regarding these end times will be fulfilled. Not a maybe. It's not an if. There will be those ordered, not facing a suggestion, ordered by the Almighty Father to fulfill His living words as it relates to bringing all His promises to reality. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, allow me to share these words as well as I gradually come close to an end. Dan chapter 3, verse 16 through 23. Daniel chapter 3, verse 16 to 23. Come with me to Daniel. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the sovereign, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. And if so, our Allah, our Almighty One, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning furnace of fire and from your hand, O sovereign. He does deliver. This is where the sovereign wanted them to worship Baal. And those that didn't worship this false idol, the king said they should be burnt in the fire. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, no, we don't have to answer this. Our Almighty One is deliverer. So let's see what's happening. Let's see what occurred, should I say. 18th verse says, but if not, let it be known to you, O sovereign, that we do not serve your Almighty One, nor do we do obeisance to the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. See, he thought they was going to obey him, that he would scare them, make them do what he wanted. But no, they held their ground. They chose their side wisely. And let's see what happens. He responded and gave orders that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usual to heat it. And he commanded some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the burning furnace of the fire. So these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Thereupon, because the sovereign's order was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. Let me continue. 24th through the 28th verse. Then sovereign Nebuchadnezzar was amazed and stood up in haste and spoke and said to his counselors, did we not throw 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the sovereign, certainly, O sovereign. He answered and said, look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt in the form of the forces like the Son of the Almighty One. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace of fire. He spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High, Almighty One, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire, and the viceroys, the nobles, the governors, and the sovereign's council gathered together, seeing these men on whose bodies that the fire had no power, and the hair on their head was not singed, nor were their garments changed, nor did the smell of fire come on them. They may have thought the fire had no power because it didn't burn them up. But I submit to you, the power was the power and might of he who is a consuming fire. In this case, they was linked to he who was a consuming fire. So the fire did not consume them. So the words that are used in this passage is saying the fire had no power on them. I submit to you, the fire protected them, for they were a part of the family of Yashar'al, representatives of the children of Yahuah. I say to you, O Yashar'al, we will see as end times ramp up. There will be times of deliverance from burning flames, volcanoes, earthquakes, nuclear bombs, explosives, destruction, wars and rumors of wars. There will be deliverance. Be advised, my brothers and sisters, we will see firestorms. We will learn how to make precise decisions to complete what is ordered by Abba Yahuah. There will be deliverance for those chosen by the Almighty Father. What say you, my brother? Firestorms in you, the things that make you, that make me, that make us. You see, we will become more beautiful than fine gold. We will be refined by the word of the Almighty Father and rise up as a set-apart nation, gathered from the four corners of the earth, in the midst of all that will be happening during these end times as they ramp up. Choose wisely, my brothers and sisters. Stay tuned. There is so much work to be done. There are many details, much to learn, many to become acquainted with, movement that will occur. My brothers and sisters, if you got anything out of this that you believe contributes towards strengthening you, encouraging you, subscribe, share, and like. Help present the words in which I am compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. Examine these words. Be encouraged, O Yashar'al. Things will become clear to the discerning and obedient. Where do you stand, O Yashar'al? What conversations are we having? Are we involved in conversations to bring us to the realities of what's expected? Firestorms in you and me. Let us be refined and step out of the storm as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to tell the story of our experiences with the Almighty Father and what is expected of us. On that note, my brother, my sister, my family, I say to you, much shalom. Shalom, my brothers, my sisters, my family. Shalom.